Okay, my name is Howard Eber, and I am an alcoholic. Welcome to the Big Book Comes Alive deep dive. Little while before COVID hit, our workshops, which were localized in the Connecticut area, started showing up on YouTube in a couple of different areas, and I started hearing from people all over the world. And one of the first emails I got was from our guest facilitator this evening. And when COVID hit, he was one of the first few people who said, "Hey, let's take this thing on this new thing called Zoom." And the next thing you know, here we are a few years later, and we're still going. And we got a couple of hundred people every Sunday night. And David has his meetings on the rest of the week, and we have this one on Monday. So I'm proud to introduce to you one of the original members of the Big Book Comes Alive, David Kay.
Howard Eber. Wonderful to be with you, Howard. Nice to see you, Kathy, as well, and nice to see you all. I do like being in AA. I actually love being I love being a member of AA. I just want to say that. I struggle with some of the personalities, but I love AA, and they struggle with me, sure. But when I practice the language of the heart, which we call AA, we speak the language of the heart, and that's what I'm going to try and get into today. But let me just first do this. First things first. So the time is, as Dina was telling me earlier, the time is now. I'm going to focus on that. And I'm under no obligation to be the same person I was either 5 minutes ago. So this is my I'm just trying to get into this. And I want to bring your attention to this. Before I just do the reading, Howard, should I do the reading first and then talk? Is that okay? Will I do the reading first?
It's up
Of
to
the
you. It's up to you, David.
Right. And Howard just meant, thank you, Howard. And Howard just mentioned in the meeting we have, Rob is involved in as well. We call ourselves Growing in Understanding, and we'll put that in the chat later on. But we've been doing that. Howard was involved with us setting that up, so it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So I want to start the meeting off today. I was thinking how to approach this. There's many ways, of course. There's many ways of approaching anything in AA, but as long as we're coming from the spirit of it, I think I'll get a better understanding, and hopefully someone else will get a better understanding as well. So I want to start off with this, and it's a quote by Anita Roderick, and she was the founder of Body Shop. It's an organization, a company that in the UK. Now she says this, and she was a top businesswoman. She said the language of business is not the language of the soul or the language of humanity. She said it's a language of indifference. It's a language of separation, secrecy, and hierarchy. Now, I'm sure we'll all agree it's the complete opposite to what the language of AA is. And I lived in that world of the business world before I got to AA, and I really struggled with that. I really did. And I was in constant conflict with people, places, and things. Constant fighting in my mind. I was fighting with myself, trying to be the rootless guy, trying to be the tough guy, trying to be the successful guy. And they used to say to me, I worked in a bookmaker's gambling place. I worked in a gambling, and they said I was good at what I did. And I think I was good at what I did as well. But they said to me, you can stick the knife in there, but it was just a figure of speech now. But you can't twist it. You have to learn to twist it. Now, I tried to be rootless. And I think under drink, I have to be honest, I had psychopathic tendencies because I had no empathy. I tried to be this tough guy. And I don't think that's who I was. I was trying to find my way in that world. And I needed alcohol. And alcohol helped me get through that world because I wasn't able to. I was the guilt and the shame and the remorse, thankfully. That's the type. Now, if we all kind of look at this, this don't make me alcoholic. I'm just saying I used alcohol trying to live in the world of the business. And now I'm in the world of the spirit, which we touched upon last week. We spoke a lot about last week. So I love being in the world of the spirit. Hence, I love being in AA. I love the idea of AA. I love the ideal of AA. And I trying to, and I get a sense of that. I've seen Howard and listening to Howard. I listened to him on cassettes or you had an app, Howard, at the time. I was listening to you on that. A sponsee of mine introduced me to Howard. So I know, and it's nice to have them being in his virtually in his presence, and other people as well. But anyway, here's we go. So this is the section I'm trying to get at. So Wilson said, first of all, he said, love and tolerance is of others is our code. And then he goes in and he says, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone. And then he says, there's a dash, and he says, even alcohol. For by this time, which we're up with. We just done our inventory of ourselves. We've made restitution, listed the people I've harmed. I have an understanding of the exact nature of my wrongs. I've been painstaking. I've got a relationship with my higher power. I keep turning my will over. And the way it was said to me was the first step 3 to step 9, or should I say step 10 is redoing step 3 to step 9. That's why I'm not saying that's exact. I understand it that way. So I made a decision in 3 to turn my will over. I get my will back through step 7. At the end of step 7 prayer, I make a list of the people I've harmed. I know I'm armed with the facts of the wrongs I caused them. I'm aware I've been considered. I could never say that before. I'm aware I'm dishonest. I could never have said that before. I'm aware I'm selfish. And I'm full of, well, at that time I was full of anger and resentment, and justified anger and vengeful resentments. And they're not any part of my consciousness as I speak. They're not conscious. Since I've done this program, I might get a resentment from someone around me, but it's not a deep-rooted resentment. So by this time, sanity, he said, has returned. Now, I don't know whether that's a true statement for me. I was 27 when I came in. I don't think I ever had sanity where alcohol is concerned, but I'm just going to think that that's what he means. Howard will probably tell us a little bit more about it. So by this time, sanity, and I'm using sanity in the sense that I can see the truth where alcohol is concerned.
Hey, David, I hate to interrupt you, but you've got the thing still on the screen. Did you?
Oh, beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you. So sanity has returned. Sanity will have a return. So I can see the truth where alcohol is concerned. The obsession has been removed, and I didn't remove it myself. If I could have, I wouldn't have came to. I would do it. It's just basic stuff, right? But I wouldn't have bothered. So, and I wouldn't have been able to put the plug in the jug and stay stopped. You know what I mean? I had to have a defense, and I still do, by the way. 31 years later, I still do have to have a defense against the first drink. And I have that. I have a defense against the first drink. So I can see the truth. So sanity has returned where alcohol is concerned. He said, we will be seldom interested in liquor. He's obviously talking about hardcore, not just beers, but he's talking about liquor, whiskies and stuff. If tempted, he said, we recoil from it from a hot flame. Now, this is, I don't, hello, Peter. I don't think I've been tempted to drink alcohol in a long, long time, but I've had a thought of drinking alcohol a number of times. I've had even a desire to have a drink, but never an obsession to drink alcohol. I was always able to see the truth where alcohol is concerned, because I believe, which I don't want to get too far ahead, because we're going to talk about this in the end of this paragraph, because I'm in fit spiritual condition, of course, but let's just lead on. We react sanely and normally. Now, react is an interesting word. I'm going to bring that to your attention as well. The word react is important. He uses the word react there, and he uses the word react at the end of this paragraph as well. So he's using react, and I think maybe now is a good time to mention the word react. I have a little slide here, a little thing here, just to read for you. I looked it up, and I think this is quite good, and I like this idea of it. I'm not saying it's the definitive one, but so the terms react and respond are often used interchangeably, but they represent distinct ways of interacting with situations. They say reacting is an instinctive, often emotional response, while responding is a more thoughtful and deliberate action. Now, he didn't say how we respond. He said how we react. So that's the instinctual. Try and keep that. I'm writing it down myself to try and remind me. So it's to react. So how I'm going to react. And people the old timers used to say to me, just trust the process, David. Let go and let God. They used to say stuff like that to me, because I was always scared of what way I was going to react to any given situation. If someone wronged me, how was I going to react? Now, this is what he's saying here. He said, we react sanely and normally because I've cleared away the wreckage of the past. I've made restitution. I've got peace of mind. The guilt and the shame is going. So I'm able to react sanely and normally. And I find that this has happened automatically. I understand automatically to be that as a result of things, it's just happening. It's happening as I'm in a process now. Remember, I think I said last week, in a simple program, complexities are broken down into their basic components, and we call them steps. So in this, the complexity of my mind now is becoming manageable. Because I said in the first step, my life had become unmanageable, right? Now it's becoming manageable as a result of doing my inventory, fact finding, fact facing, right? Doing all that, doing that, admitting my wrongs, making restitution in the list, prioritizing who's on top of my list. He said this new attitude, he calls this a new attitude. He said, we will see how our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. Now that's fascinating, isn't it? Really, um, I love alcohol. I love the effect produced by alcohol. Even today, I wouldn't have anyone say a bad word about alcohol. It's strange because the first three drinks, I seriously, the first three drinks are just, and I was drinking at a very young age, and I loved it because when I felt that no one needed me, I wanted me, I loved me, I always had a drink. I always had a drink with me, and I was one of those guys that would talk to his drink. Unfortunately, I was. When I look back at that, and I did, and I can understand where I was coming from. I was all alone. It's that one about I alone in the world, in a world I never made. I didn't know where I was. I was like bobbing around in a sea of a perilous sea, and I didn't know where I was going. But I gave the impression all the time, as I tried to say in the business world, that I did know what I was doing. Do you understand me? But beneath all that, I didn't know what was going on. I was given the impression. I was like the actor leading the double life. I was given this impression all the time. But deep in my heart, I knew I didn't deserve. I knew it wasn't right. So for me, it was just a wonderful revelation to be able to say, in good company, the company I ended up in a treatment facility, I don't know. I'm scared. And everyone supported me and encouraged me. You see, I couldn't have done that without step one. So that's what I'm saying. This has been given without any thought or effort on my part. This new attitude. I didn't. It's not my construct. I didn't think myself well. Do you get where I'm coming from? I didn't think myself into this position. It was following the steps, and the steps are the action. So I've taken these steps. I now have a new experience, which we said in the set aside. I had a new experiences as a result of each one, and as a result of the new experiences, I changed the persona you have now talking to you. It's not the persona I came in with. Personality changed, right? Sufficient to overcome. I don't have the same personality now. The old personality, I can assure you, is lurking somewhere. he shows his head now and again. He won't show his head now because I'm in an A meeting. He's not going to come out now. He's not going to come out and go, oh, look at me. He's around though. I don't want to do any. I think I call it my teenager. I call it a teenager. That's what I call it. And Bill Wilson called. He uses in the book. He said one of the reasons we loved alcohol so much. He said in the 12 by 12. I think it was step 4. He said one of the reasons we loved alcohol so much, it allowed us to act. He used a big fancy word, extemporaneously, meaning reckless. So there's a version of me in the background that doesn't want to be responsible and mature and sophisticated, all these things. It wants to be reckless. I want to do naughty things, and I still want to be considered a good man. I want to do mischievous things and still be considered a spiritual giant, right? This is the stuff, and I'm aware of this thinking today. Thankfully, right? I'm aware of it, but it's not conscious now. So anyway, this it just comes. That is the miracle of it. Wow, big choice of word, Bill. Miracle of it, because a miracle, as we know, cannot be explained. I'm trying to explain it, but I still can't. I don't know how the brain, Howard just was talking about the beginning, how all this thing happens in the internet. You send out an email and it goes to the right person. It doesn't go to someone else. And here we are. We've all got these brains, and we're all, there's amazing stuff going on. It's a miracle. I don't know how any of this. I can tell you probably this is what happens, but really, really, do I really know what's going on? I have a limited understanding, and for me to think my understanding of God is God, I'm deluded. I'm seriously, if I think my understanding of God is God, I'm deluded. And if I really think my understanding of God is God, I'm an arrogant so and so to think that I could possibly understand God. But I have a working understanding of God. And that is the miracle of it. I'm not fighting it, neither am I avoiding temptation. I don't. I have no problem. Alcohol, as I said, I think of it sometimes, but it's gone. I have to keep saying just for today though, because he's going to tell me now in a second. He said we feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected, and that's what I was talking about. safe and protected is a wonderful feeling for someone who felt he was alone and afraid in a world. It never felt any support. And this is where my self-centeredness came into play when I needed to be reliant on self to survive. And I had to be reliant on self. Now I'm reliant on God. But when I was drinking, I was only reliant on self, and I became very self-centered. We had not even sworn off. Instead, the problem, that's all an alcoholic is, an abnormal drinker, has been removed. It does not exist for us. He says, we are neither cocky nor are we afraid. Now that variance, I sometimes get a bit of cockiness, don't I, Rob? And sometimes I get a bit, I get a bit scared. I suppose I do. We all do. I think we all do. But at this present moment, I'm not. I'm the most humblest guy you're ever going to listen to. At this moment, in this moment now. But I have the variance will fluctuate anytime I go into a different environment or I meet different people. All that stuff goes on. We all know it. Living life on life's terms. But alcohol is not, the liquor is not the solution for me today. This is the bottom line, isn't it? He said, that is our experience. I can say now that is my experience. I can add myself to that. And this is my experience. He said, this is how, and I'm going to read in the first person. Now, this is how I react, and getting back to the word react, in an instinctual response. I don't even have to think about it. So this is how I react so long as I keep in what? Fit spiritual condition. Yes, thank you, Dina. Fit spiritual condition. Now, what do I understand that to mean? I understand that to be step 3. As I understand it, I'm just saying I make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. And he does this to the care of God. So if I have my phone here, and which I have in my hand, and I give it over to Rob. Rob has my phone. No, Rob, that's not your phone. It's in thank you, Rob. It's in Rob's care. It's not Rob's phone, but Rob is taking care of my phone. So therefore, I do an inventory, step 4, spot check inventory, whatever type of inventory. Then I do step 5, then I do step 6 and 7. At the end of step 7 prayer, I get my will back. Rob gives me back my phone. I get my phone back. Thank you, Rob. Thank you very much. I get back my phone. And now I do God's work. I keep in Fitchburg and I try and practice spiritual principles. Now, I touched on this last week that Howard didn't give me spiritual principles when I came to AA. He didn't say, David, there's a bag of spiritual principles for you. Although he did make the big book come alive in many respects, but he didn't give me a bag of principles. And I could pick one out every now and again, like sweets, eating a sweet. So these were all deep down within. This is where they were. I found a great reality deep down within. So I already had these principles, and they came from the designer. Whatever my creator is, whatever the source of all being is, whatever, I have spiritual principles. The thing was, and I think I've covered some of this, is that I wasn't practicing them. In the business world, if we go back to what I was saying about the business world, in the business world, oh, there's my mother. My mother's ringing me. Yeah, I'll have to get back to my mother in a second. But in the business world, as you can see, the language of business is not the language of the soul. I'm going to put up on the screen for you. The language of the business is not the language of the soul. So I'm going to use that as that it's not the language of the spirit. So this is what I mean by keeping a fit spiritual condition. It's a language of indifference. This is business. Business is a language of indifference. It's a language of separation. I don't feel, for me to be in fit spiritual condition, I can't be isolating, feeling that I don't belong. I need a sense of belonging. I get a sense of belonging in AA. I got that sense of belonging when I came to the meeting this evening to see people. Anthony, great to see Anthony here. I remember Anthony struggling a lot and kept coming back. Howard, do you remember? He kept coming back week in, week out, week in. And he go on and on and on and on and on and on, Anthony, do you remember? And now look at him. He's a strong member of Alcoholics Anonymous. Doing wonderful work. A lot of service as well, Anthony. It's great to see that. And Serene as well. Francine, I remember Francine as well. So it is wonderful to feel part of that. And I know Howard is very strong on family and all that. He called, he calls this a family, and he sends out the email. He calls it all the family. So that feels a sense of belonging is just so huge, It's just so huge for me, and that's what I am in fit spiritual condition. Now, if I was just doing that and just talking about that and just saying it, I practice this with my mother a lot. It just I don't know. It's just amazing to feel a connection to someone. I've always loved my mother, but I could never. When I was in alcoholism, I couldn't really show that much. It was always, "Ma'am, have you got 20 quid or something?" And she said to me, "You're only coming up here because you're looking for money." And I said, "No, I'm not, ma'am. I'm not. I'm coming up to see you." "No, David," she said, "you're coming up looking for money." "Ma'am, I'm not. That's a terrible thing to say to me." And after about 5 or 10 minutes, I said, "Ma'am, you got 20 quid." And here's the thing, the bondage of self is not a good thing, right? I couldn't not. I have to have a drink. I just, in alcoholism, there's nothing I could have done. I wanted to be able to go up and say to my mother, "Ma'am, oh, is there anything I can do for you?" I wanted to be able to be selfless because I think I'm naturally that type of person. But the persona I had developed was selfish, self-seeking, inconsiderate, and full of self-centered fear. And I was using alcohol on top of that. Now, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It doesn't really matter in this case, but the fact is I was in alcoholism, and I was lying long before I took a drink. So, that don't make me, I'm saying I probably would have had a lot of problems, but I wouldn't have been an extreme example of self-will run right if I didn't drink alcohol. I would have been an example of it, because I met a lot of people in business and a lot of people out in the world. They're examples of self-will run right, but they might not be an extreme example of self-will run right. And that's what I became. I'm thinking about, as I'm speaking about this, I when I say it's not this version of me, but there's a version of me that did become that. You see, I say this to people sometimes, and I've got 31 years doing it, coming up to 31 years, a long, long time, and I know it's only just for today. And if I think any otherwise, I'm sure I'll get a comeuppance. But I say to people, I never, I try to explain to them, the person I am today never drank. And they go, "What? What do you mean the person you are never drank?" Well, what does that mean? Well, I said the persona I am never drank. The person I've become never drank. Now, there's a version of me that did, right? It's like model 654 321 David Kennedy drank. But this model number 7965321, this model doesn't need a drink. It goes to God. It taps into the sunlight of the spirit. It taps into fellowship. So this is why I keep in fit spiritual condition. This is how I keep in fit spiritual condition. And I'm not in conflict with regards to alcohol. I definitely don't. I'm not in conflict with regards to that. I can see the truth where that's concerned. Now, I've never slipped. And I have never had a drink. It's a fact. I haven't. Now, does that make me better than anyone who has? I don't think so. It just means that I stay in fit spiritual condition. I'm pretty sure if I didn't, I'm bad enough. Here's one for you. I'm bad enough being in fit spiritual condition, with my tolerance, low pain. I imagine what I'd be like if I didn't keep in fit spiritual condition. Right, Rob? You identify. But this is the truth, you see. This is my truth. I seen a version of me, and I tell you, other people saw a version of me. And it's not going to come out now, as I started talking today. It ain't coming out. Circumstances would have to change, a lot, but it's still there as far as I can tell. I get feelings of it sometimes, especially the non-acceptance. And that's before I take step 3, before I get to step 3. Sometimes I'm in that state where I don't accept things the way they actually are. I'm looking for, and here's what have I got here? 3 minutes. And this is the thing for me. It's all about what I'm really looking for. And I think you'll all identify with this. What I'm really looking for is permanence. What I want is permanence. I want permanence. I ain't getting it. I ain't getting it. No matter how spiritual, I ain't getting it. David's not getting it. But I want permanence. Alcohol gave me the illusion that I was invincible. This is why I want to go back into the oasis. I want to go back into being reckless, David, because in that kind of mentality, that attitude, that outlook, it seemed as if I was permanent. It seemed, and that's what he says, doesn't he, in chapter 3? It seemed. In chapter 3, he talks about in more about alcoholism. What does he say this? He said, I know he said seems there. We learned about it fully conceit to in ourselves. So the delusion that has to be smashed. I know he says seems somewhere, don't we? Anyway, I can't see it at the moment. I'd find it in a second.
Page 30.
Thank you, Randy. Read it out for me, Randy.
Randy comes through, as always. Great to have
Good
you
man.
here.
Good man, Randy.
There we, the delusion that we are like other people or presently maybe has to be smashed. How's that?
Yeah, that's the smash bit. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So anyway, you get the point I'm trying to make. It all seemed so real, and this is the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde partner. This might go over. This might be relevant. I'm trying to get this into the. I'm trying to link this in here, and I'm getting to my end of my time. So I'm going to try and read this a little bit, and listen. Take this with a pinch of salt. I still read it, and I try not. I try not. I get the gist of it anyway.
Don't
So
worry
this is
about
from.
the time, David. Go do what you want to do. Don't worry about the time.
Thank you, Howard. So this is, and the heading of this I'm going to call it is dormant within. This is what I call dormant within, and it's from an article on neo-modern disassociation. And it was written in 1994, and this is what they say. These guys who put this study together. They said the action of the drug, and we call it alcohol, in the story is simply, and he's talking about the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So he's talking about the action of the drug in the story is simply to bring to light the visions that were already within. The action tendencies elicited in Hyde, horrific as the Arctic Jekyll. So this personality that I have now, I'd be shocked when I look at the person I was before. Right? Now he's saying here that they always lay dormant within Jekyll. I'm saying they're always dormant, they're lying dormant. But what the story is telling you, once you take a drink or something inside you, it awakens. The alcohol awakens these defects, we'll call them, these whatever you wish to call them. Whereas me going to God and staying in a fit spiritual condition, they're staying where they are. Now, we can call that being removed or not, I don't know. He said the drug, rather than creating a second personality, weakens the integrative mechanisms by which the gaping cracks in a personality are papered over and normally hidden from view. Now, just think of it as an actor presenting himself, giving the impression that I'm whatever. But thankfully, I knew in my heart I didn't deserve any applause or credit I was getting from people. Because that's won out in the end. Now, some people don't win out. They never get into AA. They never get into a 12-step program. They never get to see step one. They end up becoming a deformed, if you want to use it, they end up becoming manic in a psychiatric unit, full of divisions. And the only thing is giving them peace of mind is a drink. The thought of a drink is given them. Now, the problem they have is once they take the drink, as we know, you can't stop after one because now you're drinking, the craving kicks in and you're going to have 2 and 3 and 4. And that is the solution. The alcohol was the solution. But until alcoholics, and I got in contact with AA and I saw the truth where alcohol is concerned, this would be all academic, what I'm talking about. I read a lot of books, so what? You read a lot, you know stuff, so what? But experience this stuff, to live it, to change and grow in understanding constantly. Not just, it is just for today, but it has to keep going, because I tell you this, it gets scarier, but it's also exhilarating. It's scarier, but it's also exhilarating. That's just the way it is. Now I have to turn it over. I don't even have to do it. It's just given to me. I want to be in the sun. Of course I do. But now I know it's painstaking. When I was drinking, it was just a case of wanting to feel good all the time. I wanted to feel good all the time. A teenager wants to feel good all the time. He doesn't want disappointment. He doesn't want sadness. I wanted to meet the lovely girl, get the drink, have the money, not do much work. I want the maximum return for least amount of effort. That's when you pull back everything for me. That's really what was going on beneath the surface. I wanted everyone to think I was a good man, even though I was doing wrong. I wanted to get maximum return for the least amount of effort. And Wilson covers this when he talks about the actor who wants to run the whole show on page 60. Here's what he said, and it kind of coming up, and it might lead into this. He said, what is his basic trouble? And he's talking about, so I'm reading this in the first person. I said, what is my basic trouble? Am I not really a self-seeker, even when trying to be kind? Am I not a victim of the delusion that I can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world? This world, meaning this business world, if I only manage well? Is it not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things I want? That's what I was in. I was in that world. And I was trying to be spiritual in that world. But at the same time, I was selfish, self-seeking, and considered. And that's what was going on. I was trying to give the impression I was a tough guy. I was giving the impression I was something. They said to me, you have to be able to twist it. You're not ruthless enough. I was put on a show. But what happened is, and this is the thing, and Wilson again covers this on page, the first page of A Vision for You, which is, Randy will tell me, 151, I think. He says it, he became subject of King Alcohol. A subject of King Alcohol. What a great tune. To become a subject of King Alcohol, a shivering denizen of his mad realm. And I didn't know I had become a subject of anything. I was born in a republic. I don't become subjects to anything. You're a citizen. I had become a subject of alcohol. And alcohol, think of that. And King Alcohol wants me back. He wants me to do his bidding. I was a good worker for King Alcohol. I was selfish, inconsiderate, dishonest. I wronged people. I harmed people. He liked me. He was good because he likes causing that trouble. That's why I understand King Alcohol. He's not doing God's will. That's not staying in fit spiritual condition. So it's wonderful stuff to be free, isn't it, from alcohol? It's good to know I'm alcoholic, and it's good to be in your company. Thank you very much. Thank you.